Hi guys, Nigel Farage is very good at making people angry. And of course, one of the greatest issues at achieving that is immigration. Now, he says here that 1.3 million migrants are on universal credit. Now, he uses the term migrants, which is really general and unfortunately is not probably the right term to use. But he's describing so many people on universal credit costing £12 billion, and this is the fault of both the Labour government and the Conservatives, and only reform would save this amount of money. But of course, there are a number of problems with that.
This is going to make you angry. For the first time, the Department of Work and Pensions have given us some figures that many have wanted for years. The result, there are 1.3 million migrants in Britain on universal credit, and over half of them don't do any work at all. This goes completely against the lie we've been told for 25 years that immigration's fine because everyone's working and everyone's contributing. We can see from this it's not. The cost of this, by the way, is £12 billion every year. We keep being asked, where will reform get the money from? Well, I tell you what, here's 12 billion. That would be a very good start indeed. Some of this has happened since Labour came to power, but nearly all of it happened during 14 years of Conservative government. And if they dare say a word about these numbers today, don't take them seriously. Frankly, they should be in hiding for what they've done to this country.
Okay. So Farage mentions 1.3 million migrants on universal credit. Now, I've looked at the figures and, well, it's interesting. So under humanitarian cases, this is about 54,000 people. So we're not anywhere near 1.3 million yet. So humanitarian cases, for example, people from Ukraine or people from Afghanistan, 54,000 of those are on universal credit. Now, it must be remembered that universal credit is there for people who are both working and not working. About 40% of people on universal credit are actually working. So remember that number as we go forward. And many people can't work because they have a disability or they're sick, so they are able to access universal credit. So that's 54,000 humanitarian cases. If we look at refugees, we're talking about 118,000. So these are not asylum seekers. These are people who have been successful in their claim for asylum that Nigel Farage seems to be supportive of. He says, look, if people are here legitimately, so we're talking about people who are in the country legitimately, they're at refugee status, they are able to work in some cases. In other cases, they're not allowed to work or they're not able to work. So if they're not able to work, they're able to claim universal credit. If they're working, in some cases, their wages are pretty low. They are receiving universal credit to top up their income. Now, universal credit is a disaster, but that's for another story, another video. The next group is people with indefinite leave to remain. That's about 211,000 people, non-EU citizens. So these are people who are in Britain legally. They have indefinite leave to remain. And once again, the breakdown is, some people can't work because they have a disability or they're sick, and other people are working, but probably not earning enough money, so they have to access universal credit. And finally, it's EU citizens and their family members, and these people make up about 770,000. This is the majority of this 1.3 million that Farage is talking about. So these are people who probably moved from European countries before Brexit, have remained in the UK, are working on low wages and are receiving universal credit, or can't work and are receiving universal credit. Now, Nigel Farage talks about this £12 billion. So he would save, if his government came into power, he would save £12 billion straight away. So how would he save this £12 billion? Would he strip universal credit away from EU citizens, from refugees, from people with indefinite leave to remain, people who are in the UK for humanitarian reasons? Remember, this is the guy who says our problem is not people who are legitimate refugees or legitimately in the country. The problem is the so-called illegal migrants. But so-called illegal migrants can't access universal credit. We're talking about people who have, we're not talking about asylum seekers here. So how would Nigel Farage save this money? Who would he take the money from? This is the question that needs to be put to him, but unfortunately the media will not do that. So unfortunately, again, he's going to succeed in making people angry because all they'll hear is migrants receiving universal credit, £12 billion and 1.3 million of them, when that's obviously not the case. Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think, and I'll see you in the next video.